we're just gonna do the thing. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play Paint Alive. Hope you guys are having a dope Sunday evenings. But yeah, here we go with another one of these. We're gonna do this thing. I'm gonna share this thing. So yeah, Sunday night, gonna do a little painting, a little BS, a little ranting. You know how we do. Let's go here. Let's go to general. Let's do this and this and that. And then let's do over here, more Baste, same. There, bam. And then we go here, and then I'm gonna hop in the comments section of so if you would like to I guess we go there we go. So if you would like to be a part of the talkie talks and the chatty chats, feel free, just hop in the Discord part and then do that thing. Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, Matt? Chris is on. How'd your game go? All right, let's refresh that because I need to see. There we go. I still can't read the chat. I should probably change the color of the text on this chat. What do you think? What do you say? Let's make it black. There we go. Now I can actually read it. Cool. All right, people. So last night we finished up the Mansters from Lord of the Rings, and tonight we're gonna jump into these heroes, and I'm gonna pull out some character cards so I get a little bit of reference as to how to paint this. All right, so this is what we're doing. Our game was decent. Probably was around 5-0, but it wasn't huge of a score variance. Yeah, not much. Seemed like a lot of fighty fights, but not a lot of scoring. For me and Matt, our game was a lot of scoring, not as much fighty fights going on. So we got Eleanor. She just has dark hair and colors. Yeah, Gandalf. He's got his hat is a little more blue gray, and his outfit is a little more smoky gray. Who dis? Do you have protein bars? Again, you're not seeing a lot of the colors. There's some basic stuff. Balin, looks like you get the most from Balin and Arwen. Pretty basic stuff. All right. So who is? I guess we'll work on Gandalf first. And even KO a single model. You had some opportunities to. I think it's just the dice let you down on like the final roll to like take something out. I thought for sure the cat was gonna die, and that ip you would kill Rorschach there. But yeah, Ozymandias is super hard to kill. That's gonna be difficult if you try to do that. All right, let's go with Gandalf because he's very simple. And I gotta find the colors for Gandalf. Do they, Gandalf? Do they, Gandalf? But yeah, tonight we're mostly just chilling and painting. Ooh, this is a good gray for Gandalf. That's a good one. I need like a stone gray. That's a somber gray. Let's try this other gray. Let's do this. Owl's like killing henchmen. Yeah, the easiest people to kill on Watchmen are the cat, because defense 3, but the cat can get away very quickly, so you got to do it kind of in one shot. And then And then Comedian is also defense 3, but getting to him is difficult because he's going to shoot you to bits before you get into combat. Because he's like, I'm like Tao. I need a blue-gray, dude. Going for leaders with owls gets a little troublesome. Yeah, and basically Ozymandias is designed to tank. He's not the best unless you don't. If you don't take Bobastus, he can be pretty beat sticky. But if you take Bobastus, he's just sort of a walking like blocker guy. Gee, kind of like Catman. He is kind of like Catman in that regard. Yeah, find the right grays here. Yeah, you got some experience of how the game flows, and now you're gonna start thinking about how to score your cards and do all that stuff. So it's all good, man. I swear I had like a good blue for this. I just cannot seem to find it. Like, I had a really good blue that was really good for this specific scenario. And now I can't find it. What a shock. Octave can't find his paints because he has too many damn paints. Yeah, that's a, oh, wait, is that the paint? Is that it? No. This is it. There we go. That is the paint. Okay, good. Alright. And then I need that generic light gray because that will help cover up mistakes. As soon as I find that guy. These are like just good colors to have out and around. Here we go. Alright. So we gotta paint Gandalf. Riddler crew just is like one of the coolest looking crews. I know I keep saying that, but it is. It's super cool looking crew. Alright. Why you stream when I need sleep? Hey, Victoria Britannica, welcome to the feed. Do you need sleep, though? I mean, I don't need sleep. Not that often. If I get about 5 hours worth of sleep, I'm good to go. That's all I need. Give me about 5 hours of sleep, and I am good. I'm good times. Okay, so we're just gonna do this guy. How are you doing this evening? You doing any? Well, I assume you're not doing any painting because you're trying to get some sleep. Hey, what's up, Nelson? Yeah, dude. These are we're moving pretty quick on these because I need to get back to painting Batman for me. I need to get back to. Also, did you see the alien under your desk? There's a lot of stuff under my desk that I choose not to acknowledge. There's some creepy stuff down there. I just don't want to know that that's a thing and that it lives under my desk. Yeah. Not proud of my decision to do that, but hey, we all gotta do, man. Oh, shoot. Actually, I do need... So it looks like Gandalf just be walking around with a sword. Oh no, that's in a sheath. For some reason, the art made it look like he's not holding a sheath, but he is. Yeah, somebody put an image down there, and I couldn't really make it out. I was looking at it on my phone, so I don't know. I don't know what that is. I'm going to do Gandalf the Gray here. Today, Gandalf. I mean, I do like that he really is only rocking about 3 colors total. I'm a big fan of that. Gandalf the White, even better. Even better color scheme. But yeah, we'll do Gandalf the Gray. Good old weed smoking hippie. Hippie. Yeah, Batman was good times today. Oh, now we're like all Lord of the Rings range is underrated. It is. It's actually, you saw my girl Dis. I don't know why her name is Dis, but it's a great sculpt. And she is looking for protein bars, if anybody has any. Get a big old base coat going here on Gandalf. Okay, that's the underrobe. So we're gonna do like three slightly different grays, just so, because he's Gandalf and his stuff doesn't really match. All right, so we're gonna do somber gray for the cloak, which does look a lot like this gray, but it's just got a little bit more blue in it. Man, that Batman itch is pretty. The fever is pretty strong with the Batman right now, I will say. Just because you're messing around, you put together a list. Now for me, I put together a list. I usually put together lists with what I consider. Oh wow, you can't even tell the difference between those. Oh no, yeah, it's very subtle. I bet you. Well, you guys may be able to see a little difference there. You have like requisite models, right? That's how I build my crews. I'm like, okay, I want this crew needs to have Comic Talia and it needs to have Bronze Tiger in it, and then we just make that happen, and it's awesome. But yeah. What would you say the biggest model you painted was? And what would be the biggest you'd want to paint? These are tough questions. What's the biggest model I've ever painted? I think the biggest model I've ever painted was there was this resin silver dragon kit that somebody hired me to paint. And it was a really expensive model, and I forget what range it was from. I want to say, no, I'm thinking it's a Reaper range, but I don't think so. They usually make much better kits. But anyways, it was this gigantic silver dragon. And the dude was like, well, first I tried to put together ooh, I don't want that to cover up your text here. Whoop. Okay, so so the kit was one of the worst kits I've ever put together in my entire life. It was so bad that I made my own like Facebook post on it, and I was like, dude, this guy paid like probably like $300 for this one dragon kit, and it was just a nightmare to build. I had to fill gaps. I had to sand. I had to build stuff up from scratch. The parts did not fit together at all. It was super bad. Then once I got that done, then I started to paint it, and I painted it. This is a silver dragon, right? So I started doing like a lot of like real exaggerated lights and highlights on it, And unfortunately, my client hated it. Like it was super. It had all kinds of shading and lighting. It just looked like it looked very cartoony, like cell shaded. And I get why he ended up hating it, because it was very, it just, he was not expecting it to be, um, you know, kind of almost like a caricature of a silver dragon. So he was like, after I'd airbrushed it, I showed it to him and he was super happy with it. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to do more. So then I started to really kind of build up those colors and those layers and all that stuff. And that's when he really started to hate it. so, uh, so yeah, he was like, can you get us back closer to the other stage that you were at? And, which I did. I was like, okay, all good, dude. We'll get you there. So, um, I eventually got him back to, I guess, what you would consider to be a more realistic style um, silver dragon. It was mostly just chrome. He didn't like any of the shading I did, so it was just this big sort of silver. It was this very plain silver looking thing, and it made me sad inside, but he was so happy when I'd finished it. Like, he was bragging to his friends, and like it's the weirdest thing, right? Sometimes I paint stuff that I think is absolute trash, and my client will think, "Oh my gosh, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life," and I'm like, "No, I cut you a little discount because I was embarrassed of the job I did," and they're like, "No, we really love it. It's so good." Other times, it's like, you do something and you're really proud of your job and you're like, dude, that was so fun. Like, I'll point it out. I'm like, that was so cool. I really enjoyed doing this. And some of the clients are just like, whatever. I was just happy that you painted it on time. Some people are like that. So, you never know what your customer actually wants. Should he have blue boots? No, he is a wizard. Should his boots match his hat? Everyone jumps at Titans, but that'd be such a massive pain to build and paint, store, and transport. I don't want to get a Smog and maybe a small Imperial Knight. That'd be it for me. Biggest you did was Call. Oh, you mean Emperor Call? That's cool, man. Yeah, I think that's the biggest one I've ever done. I mean, I did an Orc Stompa back at like really like decades ago. I did an Orc Stompa back when it wasn't Forge World. It was, what was the name of the company? Before it was Forge World, it was called Epicast, I believe. Epicast, yeah. For those of you guys, for those of you folks old enough to remember, I did an Epicast Stompa. And that was actually pretty fun because it was just this big giant resin soapy mess. And you give it a good cleaning and you pin the parts together, and it was big and blocky. It didn't really matter the exact fitting and all that stuff the way this silver dragon did. But yeah, I did one of those back in the day. I don't even think that was as big as this dragon, though. I'm still thinking the dragon is the biggest thing I've ever done. I'll be honest with you, I don't care for big models. I know impress the shit out of people, usually. Like, oh my gosh, he's so big. And you put up an image of a very large model, and it doesn't even have to be very well painted. Just people are so impressed by the model that they're like, oh my gosh, it's so cool, I love it. And you're like, this is not up to par for what I normally want to include in my painting. And they don't care. They're just happy that there's a big ass model out there somewhere. And that's fine, right? It's like, it's the reason why you're a painter and they're not. They don't always like have to see or understand all the nuance of like, yeah, it's sometimes my favorite models, like my favorite paint jobs, are just these models of miniatures that are just basically standing perfectly still with their arms at their side, looking forward, right? There's like no pose at all to the miniature. And sometimes that's like my favorite one. And it just gets no attention from people. But then you do, you do something really big, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so big." I know what you mean. I've done some digital art commissions. It's frustrating and demoralizing when a client doesn't like it. Well, I've had exactly one client backtalk my work. I've had exactly one client backtalk my work, and he was a bad client to begin with, right? He was always asking for extra stuff. He wanted stupid freehand. Like, this guy was such a bro, like a try-hard bro. He's like the biggest joiner out there. Like, I still talk massive trash on this dude. Because he's like, yeah, man, this game is so cool. I'm like super successful now. Now I can pay for you to paint my stuff, man. It's gonna be so cool. And so he had me paint a Guild Ball team for him. And then he's like messaging me, and I'm like, okay, here's my basic rate, which is, I'll tell you guys, my basic rate for what I call, I have supported and unsupported systems, right? So any game that, I'll be frank with you, any game that I like and or play is what I call a supported system. And so supported systems are usually priced at the retail cost of the models. Board games are a little bit different because, you can have a $50 board game with 75 models in it. That would be a horrible business model if I followed that. But anyway, so that's my general thing, right? And so I quoted him that for a Guild Ball team. Now, a Guild Ball team, a 12-member Guild Ball team, metal, not resin. Resin's actually more expensive. But a 12 model Guild Ball team, metal, will run you about $150, right? It's about $150, maybe closer to $200. And I charged this guy that for the Guild Ball team. I was like, it might have been like a little bit more, like $170 or something like that. But that's nothing, right? That's a very reasonable price for a Guild Ball team. And the reason why I know it's reasonable is because I've painted dozens of these types of commissions for folks that are just typically pretty impressed with the pricing. They're like, oh, wow, that's actually really good. So anyway, so I charge him just kind of the base price. Here we go. This is what we're looking at. And then, and then he starts asking like, oh, it was like a Brewers team. He's like, yeah, I want Brewers because I drink beer. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's great, dude. Cool. Yeah, cause yeah, I drink beer, man. Yeah. So can you paint Jack Daniels tattoos on each player? And I'm like, no, you idiot. I'm not gonna paint Jack Daniels tattoos on everyone's arm at my quote unquote base price. And even if you wouldn't. Even if you paid a little bit more, I'd be like, yeah, it would look like trash. I explained to him, like, freehand is clearly my weak point. I'm not comfortable charging people specifically for freehand because I don't, sometimes I'll try it. I'll attempt to do freehand for free just because it's kind of my way of trying to figure out how I can improve and not incur additional cost to the client. And then a lot of times I screw up freehand and then I just cut the client a discount. That's my normally what I do. I'm seriously still very bad at freehand. So anyways, so he's asking me for stuff like that. He's like, yeah, can you make Friday look exactly like this girl from WWE? Cause I'm tough and I like watching WWE, bro. Yeah. And then no, this is the sculpt. This is what it does, right? So we get past that, and then then we finally get to the end of the job, and I send him photos because I always do that. Send people photos of the work so that they can go, Oh, because sometimes, a client will say, "Oh, hey, I would really like it if they had a black belt instead of a brown belt, or I'd like it if this character, minor stuff like that, very minor. It's usually very minor changes, and it's like, okay, I'll just knock it out and take care of that, reseal it, and you're good to go." So I send him pictures, and he's like, "Bro, they're so beautiful, man. I can't wait to play Guild Ball. It's going to be great. This is the best thing ever, man." So get him his models, and he seems to be super happy. And then a month later, he's like crying to me about, "Hey, man, I he's like, yeah, I want Octave to paint for me, but I need him to be passionate about it because I see what a good job he does when he's passionate about something. But when he painted my brewers, I don't think he was very passionate about it." And I was like, yeah, you're probably right, dude, because you asked me for stupid Jack Daniels tattoos, and I don't know. At any moment, I thought you were going to ask me to model vapes or something for them, and backwards caps. I don't know. instead of Spigot's beret. It was just, and that's really the only like bad client I've had, was just this super broski guy that just talked a gang of mess. I'm going to play Guild Ball like every week, man. And he played one game of Guild Ball in his life and then stopped. But anyways, out of yeah, you guys are laughing at the it is the funniest thing anyone's ever asked me for, though. I have had clients ask me for now I don't know how I feel about this, but you guys can chime in. It didn't bother. It typically doesn't bother me, but it's a little weird. There was one instance that I was a little weirded out by, where a client asked me for, basically just asked me for a little more nudity on their model. They had it was a female model, whatever, and she had this blouse on, and it wasn't like a tight blouse. It was actually, a little more on the ruffly side. And he's like, "Hey, man, so could you do like a little bit more of a sheer effect on the blouse?" And I was like, I guess, sure, yeah, sure. I could, yeah, okay. And so I did it, and it was actually kind of challenging because it's very easy when you have a sheer blouse and it's usually tight, and you can, you just follow your highlights and you blend your skin that way. When it's loose, you're like, geez, you just like kind of have to imagine some shape back there, and and you're like, okay, there you go. There. He was happy with it. He was like, "Yeah, thanks, brother," and like he thought it was cool, whatever. But I don't know. Sometimes that's just a weird request, mainly because it didn't match the model. Like if you ask me, if a model has a gown on, especially if it's like what I just painted, like Mythic Battles Pantheon, and they're goddesses, and they're like, "Hey, this goddess has a very tight gown on, and you want to make it a little see-through," I'd be, yeah, that's fine, because it totally matches. Like that would be okay. That request was just kind of out there. It didn't really bother me. It's just like that was just if I see it in my head, because sometimes when you're looking at a model, sometimes you see it in your head and the client doesn't see it in their head. So I actually had the opposite happen once, where I was like, this model is like, she probably her gown is going to be a little sheer. So I wasn't like talking about like painting nipples in or anything like that, but I was like, you're going to see a little bit of skin. And I've had clients say the opposite, like, "Can you just paint these as pants? You just make it, And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, no big deal. I can do that. But yeah, the Jack Daniels tattoo, that was by far the weirdest thing anyone has asked me for. And I've had like D&D characters ask me for they've asked me for moods, which is kind of cool, right? They're like, yeah, this character is like, he kind of hates life. So they're basically asking me for like resting bitch face on the model. And I'm like, you know, let me take a shot. I'm like, I can't promise you anything, but let me take a shot at that because it sounds very interesting for one. It's worth a shot. And so I did like, you just make a little squint to your eyes and you kind of shade the cheekbone in a little bit, maybe a little bit more than you normally would. And he was pretty happy with that. Yeah. So people that some of my favorite uh, commissions are D&D commissions because when you're painting their character, the stuff that they supply for you to do that is so cool. Because it's so cool. Like they'll give you all kinds of backstory. Sometimes they'll give you too much information. Just not like embarrassing, but like, okay, I get it. I need to start painting now. Um, I've had people send me like really expensive, like professionally done portraits of their D&D characters and all that stuff. And they tell me about their history and their past, and this character has a scar on their knee, and here's why. And they tell me all that stuff. I love stuff like that. That's actually super cool, right? Because that means they're like really into it. And the D&D customers I had, when they get their miniatures, it's like they had a child. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. Like, that's how serious they take it. It's like, wow, Thandor the Grand, I finally get to see him in 3 dimensions, and they like lose their mind to see their characters. And I gotta admit, I love that. It's like, yes, we're nerding out over tiny plastic men, which is what this entire show is about. To be real, and me bitching about other stuff, but that's what the main gist of this show is. But the D&D folks that they trust you to do their character, like that's a big deal for them. It's like, yeah, and then they lose their minds too because it's like, you gave me one character and I finished him in a couple of nights, right? I'll take a little bit more time because it's like, because I'll even explain to him like, look, this is my minimum setup fee. You might be better off handing me your character and some goons just to make it worth your while, right? And they're like, no, I only want you to have full attention on Thandor the Grand. Like, okay, cool, dude. I'm on it. Thandor, yes. Thandor will come to life. But they're always the happiest, like they're always the most excited clients. They'll wait there, because I drop them off at CQ or whatever. And so they'll be like at CQ, like, tonight is the night we shall meet Thandor. And yeah, it's cool. It's one of the most satisfying things about the hobby, right? So you guys can tell me like what are some of the most satisfying things for you in hobby? Yeah, if I ask for commissions, I pretty much chalk it up with my loss if I don't ask for specifics. Yeah, it's no biggie though. I mean, usually it's like just change this color to this color, and it's not a big deal. But so that would be my second. Actually, let's paint this guy because he's kind of cool. That's my second, probably most rewarding thing. Thandor the Tyrant got his Jack Daniel scar. Thandor. But yeah, people send me cool stuff, for stuff like that. Some of the other hard clients I worked for are, and this is really rare. The second most difficult client I had was actually a marketing promotions company, and they were launching this show, which I'm still not legally allowed to disclose the name of. Even though I don't think this show made it. That's all I'm going to say about that. They were doing this show, and they needed me to paint these giant 3D models that they had made of the principal characters. Now, this was a children's show, and so they had printed out, like, it was like it was a model about, let's say, 4 or 5 inches tall, and it was solid, but it was solid 3D printed resin, solid resin. And this was before, modern day resin printing that you could buy and own for yourself at home had way better resolution than this thing had. This thing did not have good resolution, and so they sent me a couple of prototypes, and they're like, pick the best one, paint that prototype. And I was like, look, I got to be honest with these guys. These are, miniature painting at the time was really not. You really couldn't have done much of a job with what they had. And I warned them about it over and over again. I'm like, guys, this is not going to fly. They're like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, no, dude, this is not going to work. Yeah, exactly, the little grooves. So I did a bunch of sanding on it, and I spent extra time getting it ready. They cut me a check, which is weird. Like, okay, so they cut me a check to do this job, and so I painted it, right? And I airbrushed most of it because you need super clean, super smooth lines, but that just I just couldn't hide the grooves no matter what. So like I ended up airbrushing like multiple coats on there, trying to get it to work, and we just could not get it to a working stage, at least not in my opinion. The head of the company guy, he's like, I think it's okay. I'm gonna take it to our client in France, and we're gonna have our meeting. I'm like, dude, I don't think you should. I felt so bad. I'm like, I'm not gonna cash this check, man, because I do not think that. I'm like, I do not think that I earned it. I don't think that you walked away with a working proof of concept, right? I like, this is no good for you. And he was super nice though. He was like insistent. He's like, look, we know, like, because I did like conference calls with this guy and show him all my work in progress and all this stuff. It was a lot of work just to do one model for a corporate entity, right? And it just never got to a state that I liked. But he took it anyway, and then who knows what happened. Then I think they laughed him out of France, and that never became a show. But yeah, but he was only a difficult client in that, there were a lot of meetings, so it felt more like like my job is a lot of meetings. I do a lot of meetings at my job already, like that's my day job, and I was like complaining to people at the time that I was doing this job. I'm like, look, the whole reason why I do commission painting is because it's not a job. It's not like a job. You do this because it's fun and I enjoy doing it, and I'm going to have a good time doing it. I don't want this to be like a 9-to-5 job. But anyways, so those are some of the worst commission clients I've had. That said though, I've had some other bad clients. Like I've had clients that don't pay or pay super late, or there's that kind of bad customer as well. But yeah, I would have to say those were some of the worst ones. Hey, that is actually skin? Nah. How come that hand looks so much bigger than that hand? I thought this was a glove. I don't understand. Anyway, let's see. Business write-off. So you've done so much for July painting, Batman, Bolt Action. Oh, I didn't do I didn't do Bolt Action and Lord of I did most of my most of my July painting challenge was Mythic Battles Pantheon. So all the like Greek gods and those creatures, that was me. Daniel Sprinkle is doing Bolt Action. Yes, I did do Batman, and I'm gonna do more Batman as soon as we're done with this. But yeah, Mythic Battles Pantheon, the Kickstarter thing. That's what I did. And it's super fun. Man. So yeah, I guess that's skin. Let's build up some skin there. But I always thought, like, before I did commission painting, I would always hear, I knew other commission painters, and they all seemed really miserable. They just did not. That's what probably kept me from doing commission painting earlier on in my hobby career, was all the commission painters I knew they all seemed really miserable. So, because they could never, they were always complaining they could never get their projects done on time, and they never painted their own stuff. Like, they would show up to gaming and none of their stuff was painted, and they're like trying to get commissions, like, hey dude, I do commissions. And then somebody would remind them, yeah, but you've had my commission for like 5 months, man. I'm not giving you any more business until you finish something. And they all seemed, like I said, they just seemed kind of, just kind of down about the whole thing. And it just sounded like, commission painting just sounded like a miserable thing that I should never get into. And again, it really wasn't until it had been pointed out to me that I'm actually very fast at painting. Like, I'm pretty efficient with the painting, and and I do a decent job for somebody that does things relatively quickly. So people, before I was a commission painter, they wanted to pay me to paint their stuff, and I would always just do trades before then. It would just be like, okay, you know what? No, I'll paint your Malifaux crew for you. Just just get me some lights for my display. So they would do that. So it was that kind. Oh man, I don't think that's supposed to. Is that supposed to be the same color? Not exactly. But yeah. So I wasn't taking money for it for the longest time because it didn't make sense to me. Now, what changed was, my wife got pregnant, and it was like, okay, it no longer makes sense for me to, because I was spending, I was spending thousands of dollars on the hobby. Thousands of dollars on the hobby. Not even for miniatures, though. I was spending thousands of dollars going to conventions and, hanging out with people and teaching Malifaux mostly, and other games later. So there was all of that going on, and it just didn't make sense that I would continue to do that, after having a kid. Like, that just didn't jive with me. I wasn't going to be okay with, basically taking, hey, what's up, Sean? Taking money off the table for my child. So it made sense. I started off by not actually taking commissions. I would go and buy kits from the stores. I would mostly started with War Machine, which was, looking back, was a slight mistake. I sold a bunch of Malifaux crews that I had painted for myself, and then sold those. Took some of the profits to buy myself the crews that I actually wanted to keep, but pocket the rest of it. Especially when Malifaux 1.5 went to M2E and a lot of us were getting out of the game. I ended up selling my Malifaux collection for about $4,000. So I was like, hello, you can actually, I spent, it's probably about I spent about $1,000 worth of money on that collection. So it was a nice little profit doing that, right? So that was when the whole it started to make more sense. Like, yeah, you could do commission painting, and so I was buying kits. I was buying War Machine kits, selling the War Machine kits on eBay, and I was making a little bit of profit off of that. Nothing that substantial, but a little bit, right? Enough to kind of keep it going. And I would just roll those profits into new kits, and then I would paint those up, put those on eBay, and then rinse, lather, and repeat. Okay, let me catch up on some comments. I was checking out the Batman range. There's some cool models. The dynamic Batman with the cape looked amazing. Batman, yeah, that's the problem. The sculpts are so good, and you love everything. It's a problem with Batman. You love everything. Just ask any of these other guys in the chat. You love everything Batman, and then you buy all the Batman, and you can't stop because you're like, oh, I need to have that crew too. That's got to be part of my life as well. I need to do this. This is going to change everything. You'll see, guys. Once I get this crew, my life will be complete. You'll see. You'll all see. And you're wrong. And then the next crew will show up and you'll be like, I need that. This is going to change my life, guys. You'll see. This is the one. There's only one true love for me. It's this crew. And you buy that crew and then you start over again. You get my point. Let's see. Don't forget about Legion. You painted about a dozen Legion characters too in between. Oh, thanks. Thanks for reminding me, Nelson. Yep. Did some Legion. I even did that game that's going to be on Kickstarter this month. Revelations War is the name of that game. So you guys will see that soon on Kickstarter. And I believe you're going to get a little discount code if you decide to back it from my channel. So there's that. Your Ivy and Oracle were 10-10. Good choice. You make the skin more contrasting to the leaf. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that because I did labor over that a little bit, and I wanted it. It just the studio art did not jive with what I liked and what I wanted to do. And Chris is in the chat. He owns those models, and he was happy with the choice that I made there. So he's happy. I'm happy. I don't know if it was you, Chris, but I painted an Ivy for somebody, and I strictly followed. I don't remember what it was, but I did do more of a green skin tone, and it just bugged me. Actually, never mind. That was one of my own models for Gotham City Chronicles. Where is it? And I did not like it. Yeah, Revelations War. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's that like small scale game with the tanks and the mechs and whatnot. It's a cool looking game. I'm gonna have to try it at some point. But it should be fun. Ooh, got a little cleanup to do there. Batman sculpts are really good. Some of the kits can be annoying to build, but painting Batman is fantastic. Some of the detail is very small. I'm like, You technically have my old Siren crew. Do you? Is it because I raffled that crew off? Actually, may end up getting myself. Well, I built another list for Sirens for third. Because I'm like, yeah, I would play Sirens. So I made a Siren crew. Oh, this is his cloak. I'm just not used to seeing dwarves dressed like that. That's red cloak. You just never see a dwarf with a red cloak. You're always seeing like blue cloak, blue, gold, and silver. Pretty much all dwarves rock those colors. You almost never see red, and especially like that's a pretty light red. I know what you're saying. Official artwork and official studio paint jobs pressure people into painting only that way. It's nice to see alternate. Yeah, for me, what I try to do is if it's a commission, I do actually try to stay pretty faithful to the art for a couple of reasons. One, I don't. I think I don't want to subconsciously disappoint the client by handing them something that is, very different than the artwork that they were looking at when they bought the miniature. And then the other reason is it's actually faster if somebody had made all those decisions for you. Now, that said, what I also typically do is let's say, this is Nelson's Balin, my cousin Balin. This is Nelson's Balin, and Nelson's Balin will follow the studio art, somewhat faithfully, reasonably faithfully. If I like this model and I decide to buy it for myself, I have to tell myself that I must not have the same color scheme. So I purposely force myself out of the color scheme if it's my own model. That way I know it's my own model, right? Because we play a lot of these games together. So, if Chris breaks out his Poison Ivy and I decide, I need that same Ivy model, well, when it comes time for me to paint my Ivy model, I will make sure it looks different than his. So I might even change like the way the flower, because the flower is kind of like a pink purple in the artwork, and that's what Chris has. Like I might go with like a blue flower or a yellow flower, just to make sure that they're different. And then, if you look at my Guild Ball teams, they're very different than the artwork, just because those are my Guild Ball teams, and I need to make sure that I know, like, that's my Guild Ball team. Whereas if I'm painting that Guild Ball team for somebody else, then I'm more likely to follow the color scheme. Coming up with your own color schemes can be very fun or very frustrating, just depending on what it is. Some models are so strong in their identity that to change the color, change the basic color scheme of the model can like hurt you a little bit, if that makes sense, because you're like, what? Why would I change the color? It's perfect. Here we go. Nelson's ballin'. Yes. Balin, my cousin Balin. Who knew Balin had a crow? Who knew that? I did not know that. But yes, he did. It's actually a raven. How do I know that? The beak. And I just prefer to believe that this dude had a cool raven and not a crow. When I think of a crow, I think of like Shawshank Redemption. I think of what's his name? Red, the guy, the old guy that works in the library that ends up hanging himself when he gets out of prison. Yeah, that's a cheerful thought. Way to end the Sunday, dude. Good job. Yeah. Look at this. These models are very fun. They have a nice, keep a nice clean, bright paint job on them. And they're pretty fun. All right. I think next up we will do Arwen. Yeah. All right. Oh, Freeman was red. Okay. What was his name? You know who I'm talking about. Brooks. His name was Brooks, right? Yeah. Brooks Hadley. Or Brooks something. Brooks was the dude that hangs himself. Morgan Freeman does not hang himself. Okay, good. I'm glad we got that all. We got that clear for my head. The bird's name was Jake. Yes. Thank you, Lucchesi, with the trivia save there. Arwen is gorgeous. Like Liv Tyler Arwen, yes. The sculpt I don't think is quite Liv Tyler lives up to that standard. But we shall see. Let's paint some Arwen. First, a little bit. Let's give him a little bit of interest around his axe. You have my axe. Best dwarf, my opinion, is that dope ass dwarf from Golden Axe, the video game. Best dwarf. Love that dwarf. What's his name? Axe Battler, I think is his name. Even better. He just has the name Axe Battler. Easy peasy Japanese. Nice. Yeah, this is just very weird to me. Like, he's got a hood on, he's got a raven. This just doesn't, I don't know. I'm expecting so stereotypical dwarf. I don't, no, he's got like that schmutz right there. Hey, what's up, newbie? Hello, America. I'm having trouble sleeping, so I've got to make a cup of tea. Good morning, noob. What up, man? Welcome to the feed. All right. Yes, he is a dwarf. We're happy with that dwarf. Wait, no, we're not. Dwarf needs a little bit more. Needs a little bit more. Just extra little things. Right? 6 a.m. better go to bed. Oh, Britannica, you stayed up the whole Jeebus. You don't have to work, do you? I have to work tomorrow. But that's okay. I'm okay with. It's going to be very interesting in a couple of weeks when I start taking my 3-year-old back to daycare. That's going to be very interesting. So I got to get that 3-year-old up in the morning with me. And he and I are going to go to daycare and work respectively. And Mommy and Octavius are going to be, they're going to get to stay home and sleep in, but they're also going to be going to work, which is school and school respectively. Still waiting on your interview. Keep up. What's up, newbie? Thank you, sir. Okay, it's time for some Arwen. Ich bin Arwen. Whatever grace is left, let it pass to him. That's my Liv Tyler impersonation. Thank you very much. It's Liv. Okay, so she kind of has this kind of cream off-white shirt in brown and sort of a greenish outfit there. And she has the pouty lips. She has the pouty lips, but if you look at the eyes, all right, see you, newbie. Lots of love from your proper homeland. Oh man, hey, we're gonna be technical about it. My homeland is the Philippine Islands. If we're gonna, actually, yeah, it's not though. I was born in Kansas. Give me a break, guys. Anyways, yeah, it's all right. It's her eyes here have a canthal tilt that's going the wrong way, so she's not as hot as Liv Tyler. And unfortunately, she's not quite as cute as this girl here. But we're gonna make do. We're gonna make do. It's okay, Arwen. We can't. What does Matt say? We can't all be tens. Stop judging. All right, fine. You are right, sir. Okay. Kind of actually try and figure out the brown that we use for her hair. Okay, here we go. I mean, maybe she needs another. She need another layer of skin to make her a little more fair. Maybe. I don't think that's what's necessarily wrong with the sculpt. I do think it's the canthal tilt on her eyes. They're not what you scientifically would determine as most attractive. But you know, this is supposed to be Arwen, like. Yeah, she don't look that bad. She alright. What's this stuff in her hair? She has these looks like she has like these little circlets back here. I think we're gonna make those gold to kind of contrast her dark brown hair. That would be annoying to have that on the back of your head. You're doing the same thing in 20 minutes, what takes me all. I don't know. We just try to get stuff done. Okay, what does this remind me of? Do you guys know, you guys ever watch Guy Fieri? And he always has his sunglasses on the back of his head like that? That's what that reminds me of. Like she's wearing like Guy Fieri sunglass things back there. That is driving dives. Poor Guy. I like Guy Fieri. Okay, I was once called the Filipino Guy Fieri. It was super. It was actually super funny. We were in some chat somewhere, right? And I forget who it was. Somebody was like, Octave, you're like Guy Fieri. And I got super offended by that. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not like Guy Fieri. And they're like, yeah, dude, you're like Filipino Guy Fieri. I am not like Guy Fieri. And they posted a picture. I think Nelson, you were in this chat. They posted a picture of Guy Fieri, and I was like on a business trip at the time. I was in Chicago, waiting to get pizza pot pie. And they put this post. They put a picture of Guy Fieri in the chat, and I look at the picture, and I just hang my head in shame because I send them back a picture of me, and we're wearing the same shirt. And that's when all my arguments died, and I died a little inside and had to accept my fate. That's fine. Okay, I get it. Guy Fieri now. Damn it. It did hurt my soul though. It was so sad when you realize. I mean, Guy Fieri's not that bad. He's kind of cool. Then I came home and like had a whole discussion with my wife, and I was like, and I asked her, I'm like, do you think I'm like Guy Fieri? And she laughed. She laughed. The first thing she did was she laughed, and then she was like, "Sweetie, you're just sort of trapped in a style." And I know what she means by that, right? Like I still have that like '90s style. Like I still have the the same shirts that the Guy Fieri wears, and I have the sideburns, and we have the like similar sunglasses, and it got real there for a minute. That was a real like realization. That's when you see like man, okay, fine. I guess I am that dude. Yeah. But it took a lot of strength for someone to point that out, and then it took a lot of courage for my wife to tell me like straight up, like, yeah, you kind of are that dude. But and then she countered with like, but yeah, that guy's kind of cool anyways. Like, just own it, right? You're just gonna be. You got the same kind of vibe as that dude. All right, it's okay. Okay, and we're gonna make up the rest of this down here for Arwen. So I like the idea of Arwen having a green. She's gonna have a forest green top here. Her belts will be a lighter green. So here and here, these will be brown. Bat family is technically a go who oh man 3 models dangerous. But it's Batman. You'll be fine, Sean. You'll be fine. What are you worried about? Oh, jeez. Gotta find some good greens. I would prefer her be in like more greens, like a pale green, and like I don't like that she's brown on brown. It's boring. People are like, hey man, you racist against brown. I'm like, no, it's boring. There's too much brown on top of brown. Oh, so the circlet does. So she has a circlet that does kind of go. She has all this stuff in her hair. So I can use the circlet to help kind of break up all of this stuff. So she'll have these colors here. Got a circlet there. It'll be kind of cool, I guess. My favorite Guy Fieri episode where he freehands a nanometer-sized Jack Daniels logo on Batman's forehead. Way to bring that full circle. Damn. Guy Fieri. Who knows? Maybe I was wearing them shirts first, man, and he saw me. Why do I have to be Asian guy? What if he's white Octave? You know what I'm saying? Why can't we go that route? Yeah. You tell him. I'm not Asian Guy Fieri. He's white Octave. Miniature gamers everywhere are gonna go, hey, don't I know you? You look famous. And Guy Fieri's about to launch into his whole career. Oh, yeah. You're that guy that painted the Jack Daniels shit on that stupid Guild Ball team. Oh, yeah. Before you know it, he's having to explain that choice. Guy Fieri's having to explain that choice to a bunch of miniature gamers. And one thing he doesn't understand about miniature gamers is they're still not happy with your answer, even when you're the person who did it. Right? Your answer isn't valid enough. Well, actually, they would come and correct you on your own life story. Well, actually, when you were 5... He owes me royalties. I'm telling you, like, there was a time in the 90s, right, where people were kind of wearing that style collared shirts and the sunglasses, and they had the sideburns and whatnot. And maybe I did it first. We don't know. We don't know. He also has 2 boys, just like I have 2 boys. But his kids' names are Hunter and Ryder, and my kids' names are Octavius and Darius. So I don't know. We'll call that that'll be a tie. We'll call that one a tie. Okay. Neither one of us get royalties on being the dad of 2 sons with themed names. We'll call it. All right. Yeah, so we'll do this like kind of detail, like this deal. Just so she has a little bit extra foresty things going on with her. Man, okay, Nelson, I'm gonna try this because I think there's a better way to get her outfit. I don't like what they did with the art. All right, we're going off script, but I think there's a better way to get this outfit. Some cool names. Thanks, man. Thank you. I named for Octavius. We did not have a name for him for 9 months. While the entire time my wife was pregnant, we had no name for our firstborn son. We had like candidate names. The 2 biggest names that we had at one time were Vincent or Drake, right? And obviously neither one of those would win because we were never 100% satisfied with those names. And finally she has the kid, and he goes an entire day without a name. We did not have a name for him, and it was one of my nieces that told me, like, during some family gathering, and she was like, you should just name him Octavius. And the reason why she said that was because my mother had intended naming me Octavius. That was her original idea, was to name me Octavius. And I guess they just, Kansas 1974, they didn't get that far. You know, it was like, huh? His name is what? Okay, ma'am. And they just wrote whatever was close. But she actually, that's not true. She actually did really like the name Octave. So she went with that, but she had considered naming me Octavius at one point. And in fact, you know, she told me at one point when I was growing up, she was like, maybe you should try going by that because, you know, you're not always happy with your name or whatever. Because, you know, like a lot of kids with weird names, you think about, like all kids who have weird names always think about changing their name. So I thought for a minute, like, okay, maybe I'll change my name, right? I'm sick and tired of people mispronouncing my name. It's a freaking word in English, guys. It's in your own damn language. Like, you could get it right. Just, even if you pronounce it octave, I'm okay with that. Some people at work still say it that way because they can't get over the fact that it's not pronounced like the regular English word. It's pronounced the way English rules would be if you pronounce the word according to the rules instead of changing it. So anyways, so that was the idea, right? It was, my niece said, you should name your kid Octavius because it's a cool name, and, you know, and that was kind of the name that you were supposed to have at one point. So second day in the hospital, they hand me the birth certificate, and I'm sitting there with Mom, and we're going, okay, what do we call this kid? Angry streaming complaints about English language. It's true, man. I'm not even complaining about the English language. I'm complaining about the fact that people who are native English speakers cannot pronounce their own words. That's what I'm complaining about. But, so yeah, second day in the hospital, I just, you know, I start writing it out on the birth certificate. And I've got it half written out, and the nurse walks by, and she's like, make sure you get it right. You only get to do this once. And I'm like, ah, shit. And I already had it on there. And my wife is like, okay, what did you name him? And she looked over at the birth certificate, and she saw the name in writing, and that's when she was really like, that was when she was really like, oh wow, that's wonderful. Like, she really, at that point, we were finally in agreement. Like, we really liked that name, and it worked out perfect. And yeah, so here we are. So, but yeah, did not have a name for Octavius for the longest time. And then for Darius, the story there is Octavius named him. Octavius named him because Octavius was like 2 years old. And, you know, my wife was going through some names that she liked. And she's like, babe, what do you think about Octavius? I'm like, what do you think about Darius? And I'm like, no. Then people will think we're Hootie and the Blowfish fans. Like, no, Darius. Like, she's like, yeah, but I really like the name Darius. I'm like, no, not Darius. Ain't just no. And my and then at that time, Octavius is, like I said, he's like 2 years old, and he's going, Darius, baby Darius, baby Darius, and he just kept saying it for like her entire pregnancy. And yeah, so he named baby Darius. So that's how he got Darius. So I wasn't like going for a Greco-Roman theme or anything. We were actually still trying to float different names when Darius was born, but Octavius was having none of that. He knew that was his brother's name, and that's what we were doing. Darius is a strong name to yell from across the mall, which I have to do frequently because that kid he's just a runner. He will run as far away from you as possible the minute you're in any sort of public place. He loves doing that. I don't know. I'm imagining she's holding that little charm thing that she tries to give Viggo Mortensen. I chose you. All right. See, if we're gonna do, she should have the movie cloak. She should have the movie cloak. Don't you think, guys? Not the brown. See, this cloak is, I mean, it is kind of an olive color. So let's give her the movie cloak. She should totally have the movie cloak. And then, well, before we give her the movie cloak, she should have, let's give her a brownish, let's see, Octavius Gaius Julius Caesar. If we were going to follow theme, we should have named our second born Tiberius, right? Because Octavian Caesar ends up being Augustus Caesar, who is the first Roman emperor, and then the second Roman emperor is named Tiberius. So we should have named Darius Tiberius. I did float that one past my wife. She did not like that. But yeah, so that's what happened there. Let's get this. She does need she needs another layer of skin. It's bugging me. We're gonna do it. We're gonna give her. She's Arwen. She needs to be a little bit hotter. I know I sound shallow saying that, but it's true. She's Arwen. So we'll give her another layer. When there's a whip, there's a way. Looks cool. It's nice to see a Lord of the Rings design art in the 2000 films. Your favorite iteration is the 1978, the Ralph Bakshi animated? Yes! Yes! I also like that Lord of the Rings. I favor that one because I grew up on that version, and it's ultra violent, and it is extremely controversial these days. I don't think they'll let you show it these days because of the Supercell style that they used. And you know, if you guys aren't aware, there's in the original animated Lord of the Rings, when they did Supercell animations, basically what they do is they trace real life actors with a laser, and then they animate the image that's generated from that. So and you know, a lot of the war imagery that they used with when they get into the battles and stuff, a lot of the war imagery is Nazi Germany imagery, and it's also like, you know, like African tribes, like Zulu tribe imagery. They use a lot of that for those scenes, and so for those reasons, I do not believe they would allow people to. I don't think they would allow screenings of it these days, frankly, just because of that. Like it's too, you know, it's too controversial. I think I don't think anyone would want to touch it, and definitely no one would want to show it. But yeah, those were those movies. Man, those movies were so damn cool, though. I gotta admit. I just wanted to like learn. Me too. Like I said, I grew up on the animated version, and I love the animated version. And I think, honestly, that what's his name? What's his name? The Sean Bean, the one that Sean Bean played. Forgetting his name. Boromir. Boromir's death in the animated version is like 100 times sadder than it is to see Sean Bean die. Well, the animated version was like, oh gosh, they're just like plucking him, they're shooting him, and he's like leaning up against a tree, and these orcs are like they're like encroaching in on him, and they just keep shooting him, and he's like blowing his horn like with his last breath. It like, dude, I was like 6 years old when I watched that movie because my parents didn't screen anything I watched, and that's why I'm such a well-adjusted adult today, is because I watched all kinds of stuff that I shouldn't. The 6-year-old shouldn't be watching. You know, it was all every. That's what we did. Everything was, yeah. But yeah, I loved the Lord of the Rings. Now, as a kid, I hated the animated Hobbit. I hated Return of the King. Return of the King, the animated one, made me so mad because you had the Hobbit, okay? And as a kid, the animated Hobbit really was a kids movie. It was a musical. They're singing numbers all the time, and it's not. I just don't like it, right? I'm just not on board. So, anyways, man, I lost my color. It's okay. So then Lord of the Rings comes out. And Lord of the Rings is like taken on, again, Ralph Bakshi project, Supercell animation, super amazing, and just blows your mind with this like hyper violent, hyper realistic Lord of the Rings. And it takes you all the way, the animated version takes you all the way through the two towers. And you're really just pretty much watching the Return of the King. So we waited for years and years for the Return of the King to come out in animated form, and when it finally comes out, they reverted back to that stupid musical crap, and we're like, "What the hell is this? This is terrible." I watched it so many times. Next time you stream and I catch it, I'm gonna donate $5 if you paint an orc while singing that there's a whip on loop until you finish. There's a controversial film called Watership Down. It's the best. It's the best. Watership Down is I'm sorry. I will tell you guys this. I do not care. I watched Watership Down with Octavius. I don't care. Like, it's that good of a movie. It is that good of a movie. If you have not seen Watership Down, you need to go out and watch Watership Down immediately. Okay? Trust me, it is a fantastic movie. And you have to watch the old Watership Down. Netflix did a newer version of Watership Down, which is not, it's not terrible, but it's not on the same par as the original Watership Down. And we watched Watership Down. I remember we watched Watership Down. They put it on TV. They aired that shit on just regular broadcast TV, and we watched it in our house, and it was just amazing. You're like, wait, isn't this movie about rabbits? Aren't they rabbits? What is going on? Why is life so rough and awful and brutal? These are rabbits. It's one of the best things I'd ever seen, though, as a kid. Right? So I grew up on Lord of the Rings, the animated, Ralph Bakshi. Fire and Ice, also awesome, Ralph Bakshi classic. Watership Down, also rough. And then, top that off with Transformers, the animated movie, and G.I. Joe, the animated movie, right? By the time I was in 4th grade, I was made of wood, folks. Like, that's how tough, like, I've been through so much stuff. You watch these movies, those movies looking back, and you're like, man, I was a kid now. I had to stomach that. Like, you watch Duke get stabbed in the heart, son. You're like, oh my god. Optimus Prime dies in front of you, and much more worse than Optimus Prime. Like, half the Transformers you grew up with and loved for 2 seasons, like Ironhide and Red Alert and Brawn and all those guys, just die in like the first 5 minutes of Transformers the movie. And I talk about that all the time. But I'm just saying, like, you know, all them people crying about Avengers Infinity War. They killed the Thanos steps and fingers. They're crying down. You can't. And they were warning me. You won't be able to stomach it, man. I'm like, man, you guys ain't shit. Like, watch these shows that I watched as a kid, and you will think that ain't shit. Okay, you watch that. Watch your little Avengers, and oh god, then they die. Then they have to come back in the next movie. And yeah, I know, like, a few people permanently died or whatever. But come on, if you watch the stuff that we watched as a kid, oh my gosh. The Wall by Pink Floyd, nice. I remember that, The Wall. I just couldn't follow. I couldn't comprehend that movie. I was like, yeah, there's a lot going on here, and I want to go and watch other cartoons. Unicron, yes, Unicron was awesome. Okay, we need to make skin though for the lady. So we're gonna do some fair shadow, and I want a little bit of pink in it, just to maybe. Do I have? I need a pink skin. Like that. Like this rosy skin. Yeah. We're going to do that. We're going to do rosy skin. But yeah, like the stuff that passed as a PG rating when I was a kid, man, they won't even show that now. Like they will not allow any of that stuff these days. Like when they said PG when you're a kid, they're like, yeah, you should probably, you don't have to, you should probably have an adult watch this with you. Watership Down, I believe, originally had a G rating. Watership Down. You guys have to watch this. But yeah, that show originally had a G rating. Michael Bay kills Optimus Prime twice. Well, I mean, Hasbro killed Optimus Prime like a total. There's like videos on it you could look up. I think in the lore they've killed Optimus Prime something like 6 or 7 times. Man, I just cannot. Her eye. The problem is her eyes are too small for an elf. I don't know. The sculptor made the eyes too small, and you can see they're tilted. See how they're kind of tilted down? You guys know what I mean when we talk about a canthal tilt? Canthal tilt it's a really weird concept, but it is a measure of attractiveness, but based on the tilt, the tilt of your eyes. Okay, hold on. Let's get this layer down, and because we're just messing around, I'm gonna walk you through it real quick. Right, so grab a marker here. Right, so you have in my drawing. Oh, this pen is all jacked up. Oh wow, that's just not even gonna fly. Let's grab another pen. We'll grab a Sharpie. As in you kill Transformers. That's a good point. All right, so here's a pair of eyes, right? So you get a pair of eyes like this. Okay. Wow, my eyes are very far apart. But the canthal tilt is the way the eyes are tilted along this axis, right? Like that. So an attractive canthal tilt is like this, where you have like doe eyes, right? Kind of like Spider-Man eyes, right? That's an attractive canthal tilt. That's these edges coming up that way, right? That's attractive. An unattractive canthal tilt is when you're below, you're basically below that axis like that. Your eyes are like this. Some people say that's like droopy eyes. So if your cantle tilt is going that way, it's not attractive. If it's going this way, it's attractive. So yeah, it looks like Spider-Man. Yeah, basically, if you have Spider-Man eyes, you're hotter. If you have these eyes, like you can tell, like those are sad times eyes. That's what you call. This is a negative cantle tilt. That's a positive cantle tilt, and it's part of what people look at and what they measure for attractiveness. And unfortunately, if you look closely enough at her, she has a slightly negative cantle tilt. When you look at her cantle tilt is, it's about even, maybe very slightly on the attractive side. So there you go. Your fun fact of the day, folks. That makes you beautiful or not. Give up now. There's no you have no chance to be attractive. Just sorry. We tried. We tried, folks. We tried. Anyways, we're gonna move on to this character here. She also needs another layer of skin here. Eleanor. So here's me mispronouncing a very easy to pronounce name. Eleanor. But yeah. Oh, you guys are checking you guys are checking out yourselves in the mirrors. You're looking at your eyes right now, and you're like, man, you should pull an all-nighter because you get to learn very important facts like that are going to change your life forever. You're going to be like, man, I have a slightly positive cantle tilt. I'm beautiful. Everybody loves me. No wonder that girl at the gas station turned around and looked at me as I almost hit her with my car. She thinks I'm gorgeous. And why wouldn't she? Have you seen my cantle tilt? Streamer makes entire audience feel ugly and worthless. Nelson, what does this mean for Asians? We're just screwed, man. We don't. How do you? All right, Mr. Cantle Tilt guy. What do you do about this? What if that's your? What if that's you? What do you do? Oh man, I know. Then I get banned from. Oh God, whatever. I was underlining these eyes. I don't know what you guys are thinking. All right, I was underlining those eyes. Okay. All right, fine. Okay, back to work. Jeez. So she has this blue. She's also a lot of like kind of boring colors, like blue. Let's do a little blue circlet here. And she has very dark hair. I like the circlet at least. That's cool. Hey babe, check out my cantle tilt. Yeah. Man. Let's see. Oh, we got to answer the question of the day. We'll do that in a second. I'm just trying to find the right color for her hair. So let's do that. Dang. This is why people lurk in my chat. They don't say anything. They're just waiting for me to say awful stuff. Luckily for me, the people that are doing that, I know that they're laughing at it. Not trying to figure out ways to firebomb my house. But yeah. Anyway, let's answer this question of the day before I get banned from YouTube. Before Susan comes down on me. It says she'll say I'm offended on your behalf and then ban me on my own behalf for being offensive. All right, Eleanor. All right, so now let's answer the question of the day. Let's just search for it because I don't want to download it again. Okay, this is what, day 26? Day 26. You are transported to the world of your favorite miniatures game. Mid-battle, Avatar-style James Cameron Not Last Airbender. Which miniatures do you want to see come to life and fighting to the death, and why? Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell the story of what I want to see, and no, it's not some James Cameron battle thing. It's actually a little sillier than that. So for those of you guys who follow Guild Ball lore, you'll get this story because it's awesome. One of my favorite stories in all of Guild Ball. So what do you want on your t-shirt? I just lurked to hear you say something bad. You know, I may do YouTube memberships just so we can do t-shirts because I actually do want to make a shirt that says Octave got me into this game. I think that would be super funny for someone to just walk around wearing that, like show up to one of my events or whatever. I think people would get a kick out of that. But anyways, we're going to talk about Guild Ball for a second, okay? So one of my favorite stories in Guild Ball was Guild Ball's one and only true social justice warrior. You know him. You love him. His name is Venin, okay? So Venin, for those of you who don't know Guild Ball lore, Venin is a member of the Alchemist Guild. He's basically he's like a wannabe assassin type that wears a mask on his face, and he's like, you know, he always claims he's out for justice, like he wants to stick it to the man, so to speak. So he's like he's not down with the system and all this kind of stuff, and he's always like just trying to be, basically he's just trying to be, you know, uber cool, out to prove he's, you know, the most just, the most moral, or whatever, right? So Venin gets hired to try to kill a noble in the Guild Ball universe. He's trying to kill this fat noble, and Venin is convinced that he is this like superhero, you know. I mean, if you're thinking Portland, think that he's out to save the world. He's gonna do it. He's the only one who can do it. He knows what's really wrong with the system, and he's gonna fix it, right? So he goes and he sneaks into basically the guild house of this like super powerful, basically the overlords, right? He sneaks into their place. He gets the drop on this fat nobleman, and then he wraps a garrote wire around the guy's neck, gets behind the guy, starts to strangle him, and it's this fat guy against Venin, who is this like, you know, he's a pretty fit dude, or he's supposed to be a fairly fit guy. He's a Guild Ball player, right? And he starts losing. He starts losing this fight with this fat guy. And the fat guy is living long enough to like call for help, call for aid. He's alerted the security in the fortress, and now Venin is he's been discovered, and now he's the you know, his assassination attempt has gone awry, and so he needs to get out of there, right? So he's trying to get out of there. He tries to escape. He gets out. He's got dogs chasing him. He makes it out of the fortress, but he sprains his ankle trying to run away. He falls jumping down a fence or whatever, and it's super embarrassing. He just fancies himself this badass assassin type, and he can't even kill this useless fat noble. So the people who hired him, because he's basically a patsy, right? The people who hired him, they now need to get rid of Venin because he's such an idiot. So, the next scene is Venin showing up for a game of Guild Ball. So he shows up and they're going to play the Order. The Order is basically kind of like they're kind of the holy religious team in Guild Ball. They're kind of like the Inquisition types, right? And they're sort of, clandestine, powerful type thing. And he's playing a game of Guild Ball, and the story kind of flashes through his head. Oh man, I'm the only one out here fighting for justice, and all these other people are just a bunch of posers. And he looks across his team, right? And he looks at Midas, who's one of my favorite characters. He's just kind of an ignorant, bloviating idiot. But he's super vain, good-looking guy, right? So he's kind of like the Zap Brannigan of Guild Ball, if you will. And so he looks over at Midas. He hates Midas. Midas sucks. Yeah, Midas, you work for the man. You suck. And then he looks over at Crucible. And Crucible is a female player on the team. She's kind of the young prodigy. She's actually one of my favorite models in Guild Ball. Just a great character and piece, whatever. And he looks over at Crucible. And he's like, I thought I loved you once, and I thought you were fighting for justice too, but you're not. You're just a poser, right? Because she never really paid attention to his advances or anything like that. So all this stuff is flashing through his head. He gets the ball, so he's gonna go down and score. He's like, I'll show you. I'll show all of you. And he just thinks he's like the biggest badass ever. And Midas is running downfield, and Midas is like, pass me the ball, and he's like, fuck you, Dad. Basically, he flips off Midas, and then he flips off Midas, and then he tries to score the goal by himself. So he kicks the goal and misses wide. So sad. So he flips off Midas, kicks the goal himself, misses the goal, and then he's standing face to face with Fangtooth. Fangtooth is basically this big, giant brute that wears a mask. He's more like an animal than he is a person. He's just this messed up person. And so he finds himself there in front of Fangtooth, and Midas sees Fangtooth, and Midas is like, yeah, I'm gonna let you guys figure it out. So Midas bitches out, which is hilarious and also within character. And then so Fangtooth proceeds to hand Venin the ass kicking of his life. Just picks up a mace and just starts bashing Venin in the head with it. He breaks Venin's arm, and Venin falls face first into the mud, and he's bashing Venin into the mud. And there's just blood flying everywhere. Venin's screaming. All of his bones are slowly breaking, and and they finally break up the play, right? Venin is almost dead, and they finally break up the play. And they have their, and the medics are wheeling Venin off the Guild Ball pitch. And you think Venin is going to make it. And he's lying there on the gurney, and he's waiting to get healed. And another member of the Order, Grace, who is basically like the evil nun, she slips past and just slits his throat real fast while he's sitting there. So he's been beaten to death. You think he might survive another day because he failed to kill the fat dude, and he's still trying to get his whatever. And she just sneaks past while he's bloodied, bruised, and beaten to a pulp. Slits his throat. And the story ends. And it's one of my favorite stories in Guild Ball because one, I play the Alchemist team. It's my favorite team in the game. And two, Venin has long been one of my favorite characters because he is like the social justice warrior for Guild Ball, and he's just such a punk bitch the entire time, and it's so funny. And you know, some of the people that know me from Guild Ball are like, dude, are you mad that they killed Venin? I'm like, no, it's one of the best stories I've read in the whole thing. But yeah, if I could go and watch someone fight to the death, I would watch Venin get beaten to a pulp and murdered in Guild Ball. Guild Ball fluff, amazing, by the way. If that wasn't one of the takeaways you got from my story, Guild Ball fluff, amazing. You should be checking that out. But yeah, the whole thing with like, you know, Venin thinking he's like this super cool assassin, and you know, he's gonna show everyone, and then he fails his only he's attempted to assassinate another player. Like he tried to kill one of his own teammates, who was a scientist named Catalyst that you know, invented this kind of super serum to make him a better Guild Ball player. And Venin thought he could kill Catalyst by introducing poison into his like enclosed system that sustains Catalyst. And what he ended up doing is he actually made Catalyst into like the Incredible Hulk. Like his poison turned Catalyst into an even like stronger, more gruesome beast because of it. So that happened. But yeah, that's what I would go see. Venin is just such a cool character, super funny, and I could watch that all the time. That just would not get old for me. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to tell that whole story in the daily video because it's just too long. It's too long to go over. You'd have to come back here and watch it and find out what the hell I was talking about if you wanted to watch it. But yes, slightly off topic, but if Sean's still here, 3rd edition starter is apparently available from night. What? That's so nice. I do not need the 3rd edition starter though, even though it is super cool. Oh, I just realized now. Wait, that's not a blade. That's a scabbard. Yes. There's some cops in Batman available. Cops are like the hardest thing to find in Batman. Why didn't they? I mean, they should not remove any of the cop models, in my opinion. I just think that's too messed up, right? If you're gonna make Catman obsolete, fine. Okay, I'll deal. I'll figure out how to play Bronze Tiger instead of Catman. But obsoleting the metal cops is just it's a move too far. You should not have done that because it's so hard to make Batman crews without cops, and if you don't have access to cops, it's really one of those things. It's like it's part of the game, and it's secretly such an important part of the game to have access to cops if you're going to make those Batman crews. Otherwise, who cares? You can buy every Batman you want, but you can't. If you can't fill up the points with your regular cops, you're going to be in trouble. So I wish they had kept every single cop sculpt as legal. Going back to 1st edition, because then you would at least know, like if you're a veteran of the game, you would at least know, okay, so if they ever come out with a 4th edition, I can at least keep my cops and I'll still have a cheap way to fill crews. But yeah, some of their old metal stuff was kind of bad or missculpted, which is fine. I get that, but at least leave rules in for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that you went through the trouble, 1-2 editions ago to get cops. You should be allowed to, like, it's the hardest thing to get. It's like a commodity in Batman to have access to cops and low level thugs. Okay, Eleanor's kind of cool. I think she's kind of cool. I'm giving her the same. She's going to have that same cloak that everybody else got. Do you guys remember when I bought all those fat cops in first edition? I had 4 fat cops. Do you guys remember that? And I ran a crew. I ran one of the most hilarious Batman crews. It was Adam West Batman and like 9 regular cops. And just about everybody had whistles and arrests. So they couldn't fight for shit. They were one of the worst fighting crews. Even their Batman couldn't really fight. But if anybody did get KO, if so much as one bad guy hit the pavement, I would be able to arrest that person with just about anybody on the board. And you could bork with people's movement all day with those police whistles. That was a hilarious Batman crew. Highly illegal these days. None of those models made it into second edition. Rip Adam West Batman. So sad. Why can't we still have Adam West Batman? Come on. Come on, Knight. You know Adam West Batman was awesome. And I still want them to make Lego Batman. Will Arnett Batman? That'd be awesome. He could be small like Batmite. Eleanor. Yeah, Eleanor's pretty cool. I half made up her outfit, but it works. I loved Adam West Batman. He was the only Batman who was strength 4 plus. He did not have Batman level strength. I think they were making some statement about Adam West's physique compared to the other Batmans. Let's see. So you can run him with shark repellent? Yes. I mean, come on. We're getting Clock King. We're getting Clock King and Invisible Gentleman, or whatever that guy's name is. Why can't we have Adam West back? Adam West did work when you first put him on the board. Survived a Harley attack. And Kapowder. Oh yeah, Kapow. I remember that rule. That was hilarious. You could Kapow someone and then arrest them. Cool. Okay. All right, here we go. Do you have protein bar? Here we go. It's this. There's a lot of funny crossovers. I thought they were going to do all of the Adam West universe Batman. So we would get Burgess Meredith Penguin. We would get, Julie Newmar Catwoman, Eartha Kitt Catwoman. We would get um, Dick Ward, Burt Ward, Burt Ward, Burt Ward Robin. Wow, you cannot tell her outfit at all, other than it's kind of blue down in there. That's it. That's all you know. So some fur, which she doesn't even have fur in this model. There's like no fur on her, so we're doing. She's getting kind of standard dwarf colors, which is fine by me. She's cool. Favorite sculpt in this whole set, Nelson, is this one. Get it? Worst name. I don't even understand that that's a name for a female dwarf. But yeah. Ooh. This color is not showing very bright. Let's let it settle in and then we'll decide what we want to do. She'll probably get an additional yellow highlight. Her armor is pretty sick. All right. So I need yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna thin down some Levedon blue for her armor. Should be pretty cool. Yeah. Just trying to figure out. I think it's gonna be like this. Levedon blue is a pretty damn cool color if you thin it. If you don't thin it, it's actually pretty shit color. To have protein bars. Wow. I'm kind of biased against dwarves. I usually don't. Just usually not the biggest fan. I tend to think their sculpts are boring, and then I paint a couple. I'm like, that was amazing. But then, shortly after, I go back to believing that the sculpts are boring. So I don't know. So clearly the problem is me. But dwarf stuff can be pretty cool, I think. I think it may be just biased against dwarves just because of Blood Bowl. I still have bad memories of playing people's dwarf teams and just losing all your players, getting them all killed. Yeah, her armor is pretty awesome. Um, is there a subconscious reason you tend to favor elves? Yeah, probably. I think so. One, they have a good canthal tilt. Two, uh, I've always going back to that Lord of the Rings animated movie. I loved Legolas in the animated movie. I mean, I would watch that and be like, man, that guy looks kind of weird, but he accomplishes a lot of shit. Like, he's pretty useful in a fight. That guy's awesome. So I've always liked elves since then. And then I also, this is a weird one, but I also really like, at least from like RPG settings and stuff, I also really like sort of aloof and haughty people for some reason. Right? I like that aloofness that they have. I like that they're a bit stuck up and that they're um, and and they're kind of secretive. They don't want to let people figure them out, and they consider a lot of things beneath them, which is hilarious because that's like a massive problem for elves. But I don't know. I always think it's cool. Okay, let's get some gold down to balance all this. Actually, so yeah, I guess I am kind of biased towards elves. In like the traditional Tolkien-esque type fantasy games, if it's between elves, humans, and dwarves, I usually go elves. I go in that order. That's the order in which I prefer them. Elves, then humans, then dwarves. So make what you want of that bias. It's looking pretty cool. So we're going to do blue on blue. It's going to be interesting. So the armor is going to be blue. Maybe actually the cloth should be white. I think the cloth should be white. Let's get all the gold parts down while we're waiting. Or should her cloak, she should still also have that green cloak, right? Because they all got those cloaks at the same time. So we'll give her one of those cloaks. Kite man. He does kite things. Who ordered Kite Man? Any of you guys get Kite Man? You can be honest. It's all good. You get Kite Man and Mothman in the same pack. It's kind of awesome. She's pretty damn cool, man. Kite Man plus Mothman combo. Yes. And then I would do Kite Man, Mothman, and you gotta have Wild Orchid in there. Because that would be super hilarious to have the three of them on the same team. So yes, we are going very, very dwarven with the colors here. Very dwarfen. Figured if I get Gentleman Ghost, I might as well get those two. Gentleman Ghost looks like he's just gonna, you're gonna snap that hat off so easily. Because it's only supported by like 2 of his fingers and I think a monocle. Just crazy. Look at her go, man. She's so cool. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked on that. All right, let's get the gray down. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna get a Magna Rack bag for Batman and magnetize all the bases like I did for Foe. Yeah, it's gonna get, with all those 60 mil bases and weird models, Batman is gonna be a hard game to store in foam. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, she's pretty awesome, man. Got the cool hammer. Does anybody know how the Joker from Batman Beyond plays? I never really got into Joker crews in Batman. Like, I played some Jared Leto Joker just because it was in the Suicide Squad starter, but I never really was like, yeah, I gotta play Joker. He just never really appealed to me. So many of the other villains did, but unfortunately Joker he just never really landed with me. Gentleman Ghost hat, yeah. Still, it does look cool. Not gonna lie about that. Ah! Yeah, we're gonna paint her. So she's in a lot of traditional dwarf colors here. Right? Gold, blue, and white are very traditional dwarf colors for the dwarfs. Okay. Nelson, should I be putting tufts on these bases? I wasn't sure, mainly because the box set makes it seem like these are like these models are really there to be exploring dungeons, and so it may not make a lot of sense to put tufts on their bases. But I prefer tufts on bases. It just gives the model slightly more interest. But you tell me what you think, sir. How are we doing here? See, I'm just gonna keep giving her. We're gonna keep giving her layers. She is. I am beautiful. Don't judge me on my cantle tilt. Okay. All right. Let's give this it's actually quite a bit to highlight here. Like her hair, they make her hair like almost white looking in the art. So I'm just gonna give it just a little bit of recognition there. Oh, forgot to do that. Okay, cool. Whatever I like. Okay. Okay. Yeah, she looks very traditional dwarf. All right. Oops. Jeez, I keep missing. But these will be fun. I'll do I will put some tufts down on the heroes at least, because I think that's. By the way, Nelson, have you seen the Balrog? I know you didn't like the sculpt, but I think he's kind of cool, right? I think he looks kind of cool. He's a Balrog. I didn't think I was gonna like that sculpt either until I painted it, and then I'm like, it's not kind of grew on me. I liked it. Your answer is gonna be no. It's not good. Paint Jack Daniels on that Balrog's shoulder. Balrog needs a Jack Daniels tattoo. I swear that was the dumbest thing I'd ever. That was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. I think I will for the next Batman crew set that I'm going to work on is I will work on Dark Knight Rises Bane crew, and then with any luck, I'll be finishing the July painting challenge by painting Dark Knight Rises Batman crew. Right, so I'll work on the Bane crew first, then the Batman crew, and then I'll be done with the July painting challenge, and then we'll just keep it rocking with commissions and whatnot, and painting my painting all these Batman crews I want to buy. Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol. I need it. Need Doom Patrol. I hope it's there. After I bring these to Nelson, I will probably just go buy Doom Patrol. If it's not there, if Doom Patrol goes away, I will be sad but slightly relieved. But if it's there, I will totally buy it. It's just, I'm really liking this idea. Yeah, hopefully Yvonne and Aaron don't team up to try to sell it just to troll me. So much armor to highlight. So much armor. Needs a little shade too. So I'll shade this armor because it's looking way too bright. Looks like this is gonna be ready tomorrow night. Nelson, if you want to pick this up after work, let me know. And I will get going on some Bane. I know Chris is putting together a Bane crew. I'm also putting together a Bane crew, but my Bane crew is going to be really a League of Assassins crew because it's Dark Knight Rises Bane. So we could be playing Bane versus Bane, but two different decks. All right, let's do. I'm going to do a highlight on the armor. It isn't. You can start your Lord of the Rings journey with Gandalf. Cool. You mean you're not going to play this? This is great. This actually really is a good model. Should I also point out to you guys that she has a positive cantle tilt? Look. You see it? You see it. She does. She has a positive cantle tilt. And Arwen does not. Yes. Who's the babe now? That's right. I think I heard my wife step on Legos. I heard this, ow, coming from upstairs. I think she stepped on Legos. The worst fate for any parent. All parents know this pain. And their kids break out the Legos. You're like, okay, say goodbye to your feet. Your feet are gonna hurt from this. Okay, that's good. Let's Core Grunt of Fur will give me a more burnished gold, but it's almost too burnished, so I want to use Fire Slayer Flesh for this, which actually Obviously, it's designed for dwarves, for dwarf flesh, so it's got a lot. It's got a fair bit of red in it. It's also kind of nice for burnishing gold if you want that red kind of burnished look. Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to give her the camo cloak. I'll do that. She'll get this. Oh, yeah, it's fine. This is fine. But yeah, this is a nice little burnished tone where on the gold. Man. Nelson, we got to get you out for a game or two, man. We got to figure it out. My place is open for business. We're now going to be able to game here in the evenings. So if there's a I was talking to Chris about this earlier today too. Like if there is a good weeknight where you want to get together in game, let me know and we'll make it happen. We can meet up here instead of CQ, and we can make an evening of that. Yeah, she should get the. I guess Balin does not get one because he dies before they make it over to Galadriel. Sad times. Now my question is, should I have, with this going to that green, should I make the tabard the green to match it? Or should it, realistically, it should stay white? I think it should stay white. Yeah, dude. You should come on down. We'll teach you Batman 3rd edition. But yeah, like if we want to maintain the social distancing thing here, we can still have 2 games in this area. We just have 1 game outside, 1 game inside. Where can I find the character cards for certain crews? Okay. Thanks, Chris. Chris answered it. All right. So now she is basically done. I'm just going to want to do a little white highlight in very small places just to kind of give you, all right, just to give that bling, its final bling look. Or if you're doing a white highlight like this to simulate non-metallic, you have to be pretty sparing with it. You don't want to overdo it. It's almost just like placing dots down more than it is like doing an actual full highlight. And then we'll do a few tufts on the heroes. Oh, the ones you have to print out. Yeah. Um. Yeah. There's like one link. The website has the Night Models website has a bunch of them, and then there's that one guy um, that made a bunch of custom ones. Then you just get them all printed. Just take it down to Staples, or the actual cheaper way to do it would be just buy some 10-pound cardstock and just print it on your printer. Print only the ones you need. Don't be like me. I printed everything, which would have been an absolute disaster had not Yvonne like um, cut all mine for me. Because I would have never got around to doing all that. That was so awesome. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let's make with the tufts, man. Where am I? Let's give them these kind of deserty, flowery tufts. You guys hanging in there? We're almost done. We're almost done. And then it's on to Batman after this. Did that vehicle that comes in the Bane vehicle, is that playable in game? Can you take the Bane car? I would think you could. All right. You tell me. Is that a real? Look at him go, Bella. Oh, cool. Yes, you can. Sweet. This set of heroes is pretty cool. They're pretty fun. The Tumbler and Bat Pods are playable. There we go. This got stopped by a bunch of flowers. Like, these are pretty good sculpts. They're, I'm as impressed with these as I am with the core set. Right? They paint up real nice. So I'm sure they fixed it so you can exit the vehicle. Oh, well, if they haven't fixed it, I mean, I don't see myself really fielding that anyway. I might field Anne Hathaway Catwoman and Cathaway on the Bat Pod, because it's a pretty damn cool model. But the Tumbler, I don't know if I'm gonna field. All right, that's it, dude. Home stretch. I do actually want to do a little bit more work on Gandalf's crystal. That does not look quite up to par. So we'll do this, and we'll do just a teeny little bit of work on the crystal, because it's looking very unimpressive right now. But it's not going to take much. We'll get back to him in a second. Oh, it's still broken? That sucks. Is that true of the Bat Pod as well? You can't dismount Catwoman from the Bat Pod? Sealed Cabin says he can't manipulate, while Passenger Transport X says you have to use manipulate to exit the... That's funny. That's funny. They should just changed it to you know, you have to use a special to exit the vehicle or something. Or just, it would be a really simple rewording, right? Models can exit this vehicle. Exiting the vehicle uses up one of their manipulate, uses up a manipulate action or something. That way it just kind of wordsmiths around ever saying that you used the manipulate action. It just counts as having used, or counts as your manipulate action. I don't know. You could phrase it that way. Okay. So back to Gandalf. Yeah, his crystal is looking pretty sad. So let's do... Sure. Cannot find what I need. We'll just do a little... Penguin Mobile's a character card as well, not equipment. Ooh. The one thing I don't like about dropper bottles is when dropper bottles do not when a full dropper bottle doesn't squeeze anything out, you may be in for a problem. I do love the P3 inks, but their dropper bottles scare me sometimes. Yeah, I'm just gonna add a little bit more color to Gandalf's little crystal there. I think it was actually supposed to be flame, but I like now it's just blue flame, which is kind of cool. It's like a magical. It's a magical light flame. All right, so I'm down with that. She needs to be a little bit darker. I don't know. I guess she looks okay. Yeah, I don't want to muddy her. She looks cool. Pretty happy with that. All right. Is that it? Are we done? I think we're done, guys. I think we made it. We made it. Lord of the Rings, Heroes. Fun little commission. And yeah, and this should look pretty good on the table together. I'm gonna let these dry overnight, seal them tomorrow, and then Nelson, we can arrange to get these to you. So there you go, man. It's pretty not bad at all. Got that set done. That was the Lord of the Rings expansion. And can I show you guys? I know I'm gonna sign off here in a couple of minutes, but you guys know what I'm working on next, right? We're gonna work on some Bane, dude. Some Dark Knight Rises Bane. It's gonna be good times. I have a crew built up. I have a crew designed. It's waiting. We're gonna use it. And the best thing is, like I said, like if I decide to play it next time I play, and Chris decides to play Bane, I have. Oh, speaking of which, see, Chris, here's the Bane cards. I forgot because they're on the table right behind me here. So these are the Bane cards, and I'm gonna need to photocopy. Oh, most of the cards are doubles. Geez, only 2 of the cards are not doubles. So I hope I have enough card stock. I should be able to just 3, 6. Yeah, I just make 3 copies. If I can fit 8 on one page, which I'm pretty sure I can, then I just make 3. I should be able to do this, no problem. But yes, no, it'll be ready, dude. I just need to make 3 copies of these, and then we're good to go. Cool. All right. So, give another minute. Any questions, comments, threats? Cool. We all know this now. You know if you're attractive or not. Good. It's good. All right, everybody. Have a good night, guys. We will we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, yeah. Good night, everybody.